SB Ghana session through our membership and young professionals committees. My name is Daniel Kwabla Fujivi. I have the honor of serving at the helm of affairs for the SB Ghana session as membership chairperson, and I'm truly honored to be your moderator for today's session. So I'd like to say this upfront at the onset of this webinar. You are in for a very engaging and insightful hour. So please stay with us, endeavor to stay involved, and most importantly, stay curious. So as we all know, SPE, the Society of Petroleum Engineers, is the largest individual member organization that serves engineers, scientists, managers, and professionals in the oil and gas sector. Basically, SPE is of immense value to everyone on this call today. And our overarching mission is very clear. It tells us that it is to connect the global community of energy professionals to exchange knowledge, innovate, and continuously strengthen our technical and as well as our professional competence, which is in pursuit of a safe, secure, and sustainable energy sector. So today's webinar that we are going to have shortly, it aligns perfectly with that overarching mission of SPE International. It reinforces the SPE's commitment to ensuring our members remain technically strong, professionally relevant, and then most importantly, globally connected. As you have people from different parts of the world on the call today, from Ghana, from Africa, and from Europe and other parts of the world. So before we dive into today's discussion, let us just take a short moment to watch a brief video which highlights the immense benefits of SPE membership. And this also allow us to have more members to join us on the call today.
Thanks for joining us on SPE TV. I'm Sarah Solomon, and there are a ton of benefits from being an SPE member, and I got a chance to catch up with attendees who tell me just how SPE has benefited their careers.
I've always enjoyed, interfacing, networking, meeting a lot of people, making friends, but also the technical content. You learned a lot from the various ATWs and OTC, etc., and the papers at JPT, so it's just a great way of staying connected with the industry at large.
I've gotten to attend meetings which I find interesting and informative, and it might not be something that I'd normally see in my day-to-day work.
Make the most out of your membership by collaborating with other SPE members online, access papers and publications, and make a difference by volunteering.
And I've personally benefited greatly from it, benefited from volunteering to serve. I've served as session chairman. I organized big-time conference for SPE. It gave me a lot of opportunity to network and to also acquire some experience in leadership.
For one thing, the main manual I use in teaching my technical writing classes, because I use it as a style guide, and I've got to tell you, the list of petroleum engineering terms in that manual is priceless. Whatever I have to pay for that, worth it.
And SPE is actually one of the major sources of technology. And whenever I need to look for something, new technology, or wanted to learn about something, I go to the SPE online and download these SPE papers.
To become a member, simply log on to SPE's website and click on the Join SPE tab. In minutes, you'll have access to member benefits. Memberships are good for 1 calendar year, running from January to December. So there you have it. Now don't forget to renew your membership so you can stay connected to all the latest technologies SPE has to offer and the thousands of E&P professionals around the world. Thanks for joining us on SPE TV. I'm Sarah Solomon.
All right, thank you all for making time to watch that wonderful video on the immense benefits that SPE offers. If that didn't remind you why it is good and beneficial for you to be an SPE member, I'm sure the remaining session of the webinar will remind you. And just lay back, relax, and enjoy. Today's discussion will further show you how SPE delivers real, practical value to professionals across the oil and gas as well as the energy industry. So as you can see on your screen, our webinar today is titled Leading with Discipline, Applying Military Intelligence Principles to Volunteer Impact. We are genuinely honored to have the SPE International section's Manager, Mr. Gregory Hickey, with us today. Sir, we deeply appreciate your time, especially you joining us at 9 a.m. Houston time, and then your unwavering willingness to engage directly with members in Ghana and across Africa. It really means a great deal to us. So, before we proceed, let me briefly walk you through today's program. So, as we have begun with our welcome and introduction, we will shortly proceed with a few house rules and safe start reminders. After that, we'll move into our icebreaker session, which is dubbed the MySP Experience. It's one of my favorite parts of the webinar. This will be followed by an opening address from our young professional chair. We will then formally introduce our guest speaker for the keynote presentation. After the presentation, we'll have an interactive Q&A session titled Ask the SP Technical Sessions Manager. We'll also share a feedback survey link before concluding with the closing remarks and climax the event beautifully. So I encourage everyone to remain fully engaged throughout and enjoy the session. So proceeding to a few house rules, I'll make this casual so that we can proceed to other key areas. So to ensure a smooth session, please keep your microphones muted unless you are invited to speak. You may use the raise hand feature if you wish to ask a question verbally. You may also submit questions and comments via the chat box. And please know that your cooperation will help maintain a seamless and enriching discussion. Thank you all for noting that. Now, pertinent to the SB safety reminder, we all know that safety in the oil and gas and the energy sector is imperative. We cannot do without it. Lives depend on it, and the success of the industry depend on it. So these are a few safety reminders for us to keep in mind. So please endeavor to maintain proper sitting posture, as you can see on your screen. Take short breaks when necessary to avoid fatigue. And also for those joining us from operational sides, endeavor to adhere strictly to standard operating procedures and remain aware of your surroundings. Even in a virtual setting like this one, safety remains a priority. So please ensure that you adhere to all the safety principles. Thank you very much for that. So we'll proceed to one of my favorite parts of the session. That is the icebreaker that is dubbed the MySP experience. So we'll hear from distinguished members within the SP Ghana session, and they'll share how SP has influenced their careers, leadership journey, and professional growth. I also encourage everyone in the audience to share your experience in the chat. And if time permits, I'll endeavor to read those experiences. I can't wait to share mine. I had a wonderful experience with SP. So our first speaker is Mr. Kelvin Ariapo. He's the monthly lecture series lead for the Young Professionals Committee of the SP Ghana section. So Mr. Kelvin Ariapo, if you're on the call, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you again for the opportunity. I'm glad to be here. And so I'm Kelvin Awiapu. I'm a calibration specialist with Automation Ghana Group. My first encounter with SP, my colleague of mine from back in the university, I saw that her career looked, her career was growing, right? And she was appearing on webinars and hosting events, and I was impressed. And so I reached out to her to find out what was happening. And then she introduced me to SPE. And then I joined SPE, so that was about 3 years ago. And since then, it's been an, a great experience. I've had the opportunity to host events. Made I've built a good network, not just of professionals, but just of good people, friends. And that's something SP has given me. Also, even my current job, I found on the SP job board. And so I'm thankful to SP for that as well. And I'm also getting the opportunity to participate in certain discussions. I've joined a few technical committees, and the experience, the getting to hear from industry experts. And so I just feel like since I've been a part of SP, my career has seen good growth. And me as a person, I think I've become a better person from being a part of SP. So thank you, SP, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kevin Ariapo. I like the statement, SB has made you a better person. I believe it has also made me a very better person and brought progress to my career in the oil and gas industry. So the next to speak is Sir John Kumsin, the Deputy Young Professionals Chair for the SB Ghana section. So Mr. John Kumsin, if you're on the call, the floor is yours, please.
All right. Good afternoon, audience on the call. Kindly confirm if I'm audible. All right. So, thank you, Daniel, for giving me the chance to share my story. So, my name is John Kingston. I'm the current young professional deputy chair for SPG section from 2024 up to this. As part of my professional career, petroleum engineering and a training during the completing engineering. So, with my SP story, I joined SP as a second-year petroleum engineering student at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, and I was part of the team that established the SP Women Student Chapter in 2019. I served as the SP coordinator at that time, which marked the beginning of my leadership journey within the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Through SP, I have held leadership roles, committee planning of some technical events, and these experiences strengthened my leadership and communication skills and significantly contributed to my personal and professional development. What I can say started as campus volunteerism has evolved into a platform for continuous growth, knowledge sharing, and professional opportunities. And I remain grateful to section chairs and some officers whose mentorship and trust played a key role in shaping my journey. And so I'm glad to state that today SP is not just an association I joined, it has become a platform that transforms my leadership journey and continues to provide endless opportunities for impact and growth. So that is my storyline for being a member of SP.
Thank you very much for Mr. John Kumsin for that wonderful experience. So listening to those experience reminds me why I personally remain committed to SP. At the onset of my career, I was fully immersed in field operations, specifically terminal operations. I featured terminal walkabouts, tank gauging or sounding, tank lineups, pump operations. It was a valuable experience. But at some points, I began to ask myself deeper questions that transcended beyond that immediate space. I asked myself, how do I broaden my impact? And I kept asking myself this most important question: how do I transition into roles that really influence strategy and research? And believe me, SP became that bridge that I needed to transition through the technical sessions that SP offered, like this ones, volunteering, conversations with SP professionals, and consistent engagement. I gained exposure beyond the oil terminal operations. I begin to understand the technical bits that was doing in the oil terminal operations and how they really affected business, and then also how research informed decisions and how professional visibility matters in the oil and gas industry. So with those opportunities, they didn't just come overnight, but through consistency in active SP membership. So today, my transition into business development and research roles are directly linked to the benefits that SP has offered me. So I believe that SP is for all of us, and SP is a gold mine to everyone in oil and gas industry. So if you have a wonderful SP experience that you would like to share with us, kindly place it in the chat box, and if time permits, I'll read it out gladly so that we all applaud the immense benefit that SP has offered you. So at this point, I would like to invite someone I deeply respect, that is a young professional chairperson of the SP Ghana session, Mr. Yao Frimpong Sapon, to deliver the official opening address for this high-level webinar. Mr. Yao Sapon, the floor is yours, sir. Let's hear from you, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Daniel. I hope I'm audible.
You are very audible, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone gathered here. Because the topic is somewhat related to military, I'll try my best to be as direct as possible. In SPE and many other organizations, we often celebrate effort, but in reality, effort is not the same as impact. Teams can be busy and still ineffective. Leaders can be committed and still find themselves in somewhat unstructured situations. And volunteers can be passionate and still deliver inconsistent results. So the real question is not, are we trying? The real question is, are we executing it well? Because execution is what separates activity from impact. And execution is driven by one key thing: discipline. The ability to think clearly, plan deliberately, assign responsibility, track performance, and adapt quickly. That is what matters today. And that's why we're having today's session. We're not here to talk about leadership in abstract terms, but we're here to examine leadership through the lens of military intelligence, one of the most disciplined, structured, and result-driven systems in the world. A system where clarity is non-negotiable, where roles are defined, and where information is processed with precision, and exactly where outcomes matter. The question is simple for us. What happens when we bring that level of discipline into SPE or wherever we will be serving? What happens to our committees, our programs, our execution, and ultimately our impact? Because SPE is not just a network, but indeed is an operating system. And like any system, its effectiveness depends on how well it is led. We're therefore privileged to have with us Gregory Hickey, SPE's technical sections manager, whose experience brings exactly that perspective that we're looking for: structure, leadership, discipline, execution, and high performing team dynamics. Today is not about just learning, it's about recalibrating how we lead. So I challenge everyone here to listen as passionately as possible. Interrogate your own leadership, identify your gaps, and think about what you can change after this session. Because impact in SPE and beyond is not accidental, but is designed and executed. With that, you're welcome to today's session. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yasapon, for that wonderful opening address. My key takeaway is to identify the gaps, pick insights from what Mr. Gregory Hickey will share with us, and then apply it to our lives to make significant impact. So before introducing our guest speaker, let me briefly outline the background and objectives of today's webinar. So according to research, effective leadership in the energy industry requires precision to navigate global volatility, which is a key feature of the oil and gas industry, as we can even see now. So while professional rigor is a standard in corporate roles, applying the same discipline in the volunteer-driven framework of SPE requires a very specialized approach. This session, which will feature former military intelligence officer Mr. Gregory Hickey, it explores the intersection of military intelligence and professional service by adopting mission-critical frameworks like the strategic foresight and the OODA loop, that is the observe, orient, decide, act. SPE volunteers can move beyond just busy work to making significant impact. So this webinar invites you to bridge military precision and energy sector leadership, which ensures every volunteer drives measurable and significant impact. Thank you all for that. And now we have arrived at the central moment of today's session. It is my distinct honor to introduce Mr. Gregory Hickey, SPE International Technical Sessions Manager. Mr. Gregory provides strategic and operational support to SPE's global network of technical sessions. With over 6 years at SPE, he strengthens session effectiveness, develops operational frameworks, and ensures alignment across technical communities. He manages and supports 25 technical sessions, working closely with session officers to enhance operations, programs, and impacts. His responsibilities encompass developing tools, procedures, and guidelines, facilitating communication among volunteer groups, supporting technical initiatives, webinars, and special sessions, and also overseeing programs such as the robotics competition. He also contributes to budgeting, project coordination, and governance processes. Before joining SPE, Mr. Gregory served 30 years in military intelligence. This is a role I really admire because of the love I have for the Army as well. Building expertise in strategic analysis, mission planning, and operational execution. His career included roles as a linguist, analyst, trainer, and supervisor across technical units and national level intelligence environments. Interestingly, he also brings over 17 years of experience. That sounds like a lot of good experience in the industry in training, curriculum development, and management across intelligence, software manufacturing, and energy sectors. He holds a BA in sociology, multiple certifications, including CTT Plus, NSA Adjunct Faculty, and US Army or Air Force Master Instructor. A whole lot of interesting history. Gregory's combined experience in military operations, training, and program management enables him to support SPE's mission while advancing technical knowledge, professional development, and global collaboration. It is truly a privilege to have him with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Gregory Hickey as he presents on leading with discipline, applying military intelligence principles to volunteer impact. Mr. Hickey, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you to the Ghana section for inviting me to speak today. It's a great pleasure. It's always a good time and great pleasure to speak to SPE members that are located all over the world. I deal with people every day, but I never get to do face-to-face that much because of the aspect of the technical sections. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So can everybody see my screen real quick before we continue?
Yes, sir, we can see your
Okay,
screen.
great.
You're very audible.
Okay, great. So thank you again for having me to speak today. Like Daniel said, I had 30 years in the military world before joining SPE, and it has been a challenge making that transition from a military style world into a volunteer style world. So this topic is very interesting for me because I've had to make that change myself in my career thinking. So today we're basically going to talk about the background and rationale for volunteering and military style decision making. What's the challenge? Bridging that corporate or military disciplinary rigor to a volunteer culture. And then we'll talk about the what we call the OODA loop. It's a rapid decision making framework used by the Air Force. Also understanding what it does and how it helps in rapid decision making. How to apply that to SPE volunteers, from going, as a military training decision-making tool to a volunteer tool. And the transition from activity to impact, like it was mentioned earlier, how to, just not be active, but to have an impact, have your actions have outcomes. And maintain discipline in a non-contractual environment. So, in the volunteer world, it's not like you're working for a company where you have a boss and a manager and somebody who is holding you accountable that can, if you don't do your job well, you can be demoted or fired. So it's a volunteer environment. How do we maintain accountability without that structure? So that's a good point. And then leveraging foresight for SPE growth, using information to grow SPE and the sections, and then strengthen leadership excellence, career relevance through SPE engagement. And then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about the SPE technical sections. I am the technical section manager, so I'm going to get my little piece in about the SPE technical sections, and then we'll end up with questions and answers. So the challenge for this is there's an energy leadership challenge, and there's gaps. And then we're going to try to look to see if there's a solution in applying these military intelligence frameworks to the volunteer world. So the leadership challenge is we want effective leadership in the energy industry, and that demands the ability to navigate global changes. So things are, constantly changing in our world and in our industry, and effective leadership has to be able to foresee those changes or anticipate them and make those changes in a timely and quick manner. And also the professional rigor is a standard in corporate roles, but like we said, in the volunteer world, that operates a little differently than you do in a regular corporate environment. And then what's the SPE gap? Being able to translate that corporate or military discipline into a volunteer-driven framework that requires a specialized approach. And without the structure, volunteer hours can become busy work, like it was mentioned before. But you can be busy, but have no strategic impact. So you want to not just be busy, you want your work to actually have an impact at the end. And so the solution, we're going to try to see if we can apply that military intelligence framework to the volunteer world. And like we said earlier, be able to anticipate industry shifts before they arrive, and use that OODA loop, which we'll discuss here in a little bit, to navigate those changes with speed and confidence. And so the vision is that every volunteer hour drives a measurable impact for your section and the energy community. And also we want to transform local sections and chapters and make them be successful in their mission and their goals. So kind of the difference between the corporate world and the volunteer world. So in the corporate environment, you have a hierarchical accountability structure that enforces discipline. There's contractual obligations that drive follow-through and measurements. You have clear KPIs and performance metrics that guide your decisions. Resources are centrally managed by that corporation, and professional consequences motivate consistency. So, if you don't want to get fired or demoted, you want to do a better job and do things to improve. So you kind of have those things in the corporate world that hold you, to your task and measure outcomes. In the volunteer world, it's kind of the opposite. It's a peer-driven structure with no formal authority. Although we do have committees with chairpersons and officers, there's no, they're just kind of there to run the section. There's no, everybody's a peer. Nobody's in a position higher than the others. And then participation is optional. So, volunteerism is just that. People are volunteering because they want to. It's optional. So commitment varies widely. We have people that are volunteers that do lots of things, and we have people that volunteer that they can say, well, I'm a member of SPE, but they're not really doing a whole lot. So there's that commitment situation. So, and success metrics are unclear and unmeasured a lot of times. How do we show that we're being a successful section compared to other sections? So sometimes those metrics are unclear. So that's one of the things that is a difference. And then resources sometimes are limited and contested. So in the world we are today, especially with SPE, there's industry constraints, there's budget cuts, things like that. So the resources are limited. A lot of times you hear that motto, we do more with less. So that's a thing too. And then there's no financial incentives to sustain momentum. So you're not getting paid to do this. There's no bonuses. There's nothing like that. So, how do you get people to be motivated without those things in place? And so a bridge between these two might be a military style framework that instills discipline without coercion. So, you don't want people to do a good job because you're making them, that if they don't, something bad's going to happen. They're going to get fired or released. You want people to do a good job because they're motivated to do that for themselves. They want to take ownership of what they're doing and have pride in that. So that's kind of the bridge we need. So a couple of quick objectives we're going to look at today. The first one is understand the OODA loop. OODA stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. And it's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the transition from just activity to impact. So making sure that routine volunteer tasks relate into mission critical outcomes not just busy work, like we said before. And then we want to maintain operational discipline in a non-contractual environment. Implement strategies to foster accountability and commitment within a volunteer workforce where traditional corporate hierarchies aren't there. We want to leverage strategic foresight for SP growth, utilizing information and gathering techniques to anticipate member needs and section needs, and position SP Ghana as a forward-thinking leader in the energy industry. And then finally, we want to strengthen that leadership excellence, reinforce the values of SPE engagement in supporting long-term career relevance through structured discipline and information-led decision-making. So we already heard from a couple of people earlier how SPE has helped, them in their career. So, the volunteerism isn't, it provides support to SPE and your sections, but it supports you and provides you career relevance as well. So we talked about the OODA loop, rapid decision-making tool. So it was developed by the Air Force and is a decision-making model designed for environments of high volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, exactly the condition SPE volunteers face. So the first O is for observe, and that's gather real-time data and information, member engagement levels, industry trends, event participation rates, and global energy policy shifts. So you want to observe all those things that affect your section, SPE, and you as an energy professional. The second O is for orient. So you want to analyze that information through the lens of SPE's mission or your section's mission. Understand the context, the biases, and the strategic implications of that information as it affects your section and SPE. And then decide. You want to select the most impactful course of actions. Prioritize your initiatives that drive measurable outcomes, not just activities. So you want to be able to do things where, you can say, well, we held this many webinars last year. Well, what was the outcome of those webinars? Did it improve did viewership increase? Did it improve membership? Did it increase your members in your sections? So you want measurable outcomes. And then finally, the last one is A for act. You want to execute with discipline and speed. You don't want to take your time and drag your feet. The quicker you can make those changes and adapt to those things that you've gathered, the better it is for the section and for SP and you as a professional. And then you immediately begin observing again because the loop is continuous. So basically, you observe, you orient, you decide, and then you act on those decisions. But then you want to see how those decisions are working. Did they, are they now, is your section better off? Is membership increasing? Are your webinars getting more viewers? And then, if something else needs to be done, you just go back to that first O again, and it starts all over again. So it's a never-ending cycle. So observe and orient, we'll talk about these a little bit. Observe is know your environment. Track member attendance, these are things that apply to SPE. Track member attendance across chapter events, monitor Ghana's energy sector policy developments, survey member needs and career development gaps. So those are kind of the things you're looking at. And then orient, make sense of that data. You want to benchmark against other SPE sections. How are we doing compared to other SPE sections? Identify which initiatives align with your important initiatives. And then understand what motivates your volunteers. What are they interested in? What do they want to do for the section? What are they willing to volunteer for? Those types of things. And then decide and act. Decide, choose high impact actions. Prioritize 2 to 3 important initiatives per quarter. Eliminate those activities that don't really serve measurable goals. We did this or did that or had a committee meeting or a luncheon, but did that really do anything? Was there a measurable outcome from those activities? And then you want to allocate your volunteer hours to maximum leverage projects. So, you don't want to waste your time on things that don't have an impact on your section. You want to be able to use those volunteer hours on projects that will, improve your section and your volunteers' professional lives. And then that last one is act. Execute with military precision. Assign clear roles and ownership for every action item. That's a big thing. because when people take ownership of an action or a task that they're given, it makes it personal. It's not like they're doing it for somebody else. They're doing it for themselves. And if they take ownership of that activity, then they put a little pride into it and they pay more attention to it and try a little harder because they know that whatever happens with that task, it's a reflection on them. And everybody wants to, have a good, wants everybody to look on them as being a successful person. And then set 30, 60, or 90-day milestones with accountability checkpoints. So, if it's something that's a long-term project, set up milestones or checkpoints to see how that task is coming along. If it's a shorter task, maybe once a week. If it's a longer task, maybe twice a month, once a month. So, but you want checkpoints to make sure whatever that task is, that those, whatever the actions are being taken to do that task, that those things are moving along and not stagnating. And then always loop back immediately. Once something's done, you want to observe the outcomes and adapt. Did we do everything right? Could we have done something a little better? Things like that. And then you go back and you do this all over again. So the transition from activity to impact. So busy work and things that are what, in the military, we'd call mission critical. So busy work is typical volunteer activity is hosting a networking dinner with no defined agenda. We're just going to have a dinner. No speakers, no topic, nothing technical about it. It's just a dinner, which is always good for networking and things. But, sometimes you want an outcome from that. And then organizing a seminar because we always do it. No particular reason. We just do this once a month, so we do it. We don't, put that much interest into it because it's just a thing we do. Creating a committee without clear deliverables. So, you create a committee, but what is this committee being created for? What are the outcomes expected from this committee? Sending newsletters that nobody reads. We see this a lot where, if a section sends out emails or newsletters, sometimes people are like, oh, it's just an email, I'll get to it later, and they forget it, or they delete it and they don't read it. So you want newsletters and emails to be impactful and have information that people want. And then another typical volunteer, attending meetings without actionable outcomes. All your meetings, if you have a section meeting, there should be some actionable items that come out of that meeting, things that need to be worked on, events coming up, elections, whatever that might be. And so the big problem is these actions feel productive, but they produce no measurable impact on members' careers, the section, or the energy community. It's just things being done because that's what we do. So the after we're looking for is a mission critical reframe, is hosting a targeted workshop that addresses a specific skills gap reported by 60% of the members. So say you did a poll and, what are some of the gaps we see, and you get like a 60% response. Obviously that means there's, that's something of interest to your members. So a workshop that addresses that specific thing, so, you're addressing things that are actually of interest to your members. And then maybe running a seminar that positions SPE Ghana on the energy transition debate, making SPE Ghana's name more, getting it out there to more people in the industry. Forming a task force with a 90-day mandate and clear KPIs. So, here we have, here's the goals we want, and here's the time frame we have to do it in. So, you kind of put some limits in place there. Publishing briefs and papers that members share externally. So, things that are of interest that people want not just to keep within the section, but, share those externally with people outside the section and maybe gather interest and maybe new members to the section. And then meetings should always end with a couple, 3 to 5 decisions, action items. And that's just an example. It could be less, it could be more. It depends on how active the section is. But you always want to come out of committee meetings with some action items, things that need to be done or things that need to be taken care of or addressed. And then the discipline behind this is ask before every activity, what measurable outcome does this produce? So we're going to have this meeting, we're going to have this webinar, we're going to have this seminar. What's the outcome of that? Are we doing it just because that's what we do, or is there a reason behind this, an outcome that we want? And then, like we said before, there's a big difference between the military and corporate worlds and volunteer worlds. And so some of the challenges there are, how do you maintain accountability when nobody really has to show up? You're just a volunteer. So one of those is mission clarity. Every volunteer should understand that section or chapter's mission and have some ownership of that. Purpose drives commitment far more reliably than just an obligation. So if people want to do something, they're just not, having to do it. Obviously, that gives more ownership to the person and, drives that commitment up. And then in the military, we'd say commander's intent. This could be the chairperson's intent in this case. Leaders of the section communicate the why clearly enough that team members can make decisions independently when the leader is unavailable. So if the section chairperson says, hey, gives a task to the membership chair or program chair and, gives them a task, communicate why clearly enough so that that person can go and do that task, even if there's no feedback or no way to contact the chairperson to ask questions. So make sure that task is clear. After action reviews, these are a big thing in the military. After everything we did in the military, we always had an after action review. And this basically end every project with a debrief. What worked, what didn't work, and what can we change or do better next time? And basically that builds a living knowledge base of, here's the things we've been doing wrong, here's the things we've been doing right, and here's what we can do next time to make it better. And then recognition of frameworks, create milestone-based recognition that rewards impact, not just attendance. Celebrate your mission contributions publicly. So, we do this through awards. We do it through just shout outs. My technical section officers have a quarterly newsletter, and I give them space in that quarterly newsletter to let people know of, hey, so-and-so is doing a great job. We'd like to recognize this person for helping out here. And so, just recognizing those members and what they're doing can build that, makes them proud of what they're doing and, make them want to do more. And then peer accountability culture. In the military, we had what we called battle buddies. And a battle buddy means that you always had somebody by your side. You were never alone. There was always somebody to provide advice and share in the work. And that can help in the volunteer world as well. If you have two people working on a project instead of one, that brings two sets of eyes to the project and double, more time to work on that project. Sometimes that can be too much. If you have 5 or 6 people, it can get convoluted and too many opinions. But 1, 2, maybe 3 people, may be better at working on a task, especially if it's a larger task, than just one person. And so the intelligence approach is, what is strategic foresight? The military intelligence, it's a technique for anticipating future conditions before they happen. And basically it moves leadership from reacting to situations to proactive positioning where they can anticipate things that might happen. And that makes it easier to react to those situations. And for SPE, that intelligence information gathering will be monitoring the IEA, OPEC, and ECOWAS energy reports for Ghana relevant signals, track employer hiring trends to anticipate the skills that your members might need, observe competitor professional associations for benchmark insights. So look at some of those other volunteer associations and see what they're doing and how can we maybe do some of that in our section. And then conduct annual or quarterly member surveys on career priorities and needs. What are your members looking for? If they're an SPE member, why are they an SPE member, and what do they expect from your section? And then what are they needing to help improve their careers and their professional life? And then signals to watch for SPE Ghana: energy transition acceleration in West Africa, carbon pricing legislation, digitalization and AI adoption in operations, and young professional talent flight from the sector. So, if there's a shortage of young professionals, why is that? Where are they going instead of into the energy field? So things to watch. And then become the go-to resource for energy transition information in Ghana. That's things that you could do for the section. Design programming 18 months ahead of identified skill gaps. So if you know what some of those skill gaps are, work and design programs to address those as far ahead as possible. And then position your chapter leadership as thought leaders, not just event organizers. So, you want them to think about how to move the section forward, what to do, what's best for the section, not just be, we're doing this webinar, we're doing this luncheon, we're doing this seminar. You want them to be doing those for a reason. And so we have the hidden rules of engagement for SPE volunteerism. So every hour you invest in SPE leadership development has direct returns on your professional career trajectory. So, you've heard people talk about how being an SPE has helped them in their professional life. So every hour you invest, that's going to help you in your professional life as well. And then strategic foresight skills. Volunteer leaders who apply information-led decision-making become more valuable in their corporate strategic planning roles. So, the things you learn being a leader in SPE applies directly to leadership positions in the corporate world as well. Operational discipline, the accountability frameworks you practice in SPE directly translate to team management competence in your professional roles. Again, things you do in SPE as a volunteer, that experience rolls over into your professional life. And the network is an intelligence analysis asset. Your SPE network is a real-time information resource for career opportunities, industry updates, and professional membership. So SPE network is full of information about career opportunities, what's going on in the industry. Lots of mentorship going on. That's a big focus now in SPE, is mentorship for not just the young professionals, but also students as well. So, and then with the technical sections, that's real-time information, technical information that's being shared within the community. And then as a thought leadership platform, SPE Engagement positions you as a visible expert in Ghana's energy sector, a career differentiator that can't be taught in a classroom. So, you're learning things outside of a classroom. You're learning the experience of other people in the industry, not just in Ghana or Africa, but around the world. Like Daniel said, we may have people today from all over the world watching this webinar. So keep that in mind. And then the military parallel, the most decorated military leaders didn't necessarily rise through combat alone. They rose through disciplined service, strategic thinking, and mission commitment. So SPE volunteerism is pretty much the same. So you don't have to be in combat to do great things. You can do great things just through your service, thinking ahead of time, and your commitment to the mission. And so that's pretty much it for that portion of my talk. I do want to talk a little bit about the SPE technical and professional activities because I am the technical section manager. And I want to talk about these because I've noticed, or we've learned, that a lot of the geographic sections, student chapters, have no idea that SPE has these technical sections. And so we're going to start with technical disciplines. So SPE has its activities structured into 8 technical disciplines, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Each one of those features specialized news and programs that cater to the interest of our members, and many of our members have interests that span across multiple areas. So SPE's priority is to provide a professional and accommodating atmosphere where members can explore and engage with various activities in a seamless manner. And then we also have the technical sections that I manage. A technical section is basically a group of SPE members worldwide who share a common interest in a specific technical topic. These members collaborate, exchange ideas, and work on projects related to their technical area of focus. They also generally prioritize sharing knowledge and ideas through open discussions, webinars, and events with a goal-oriented approach like we talked before. Through these sections, members can develop their skills and knowledge, promoting overall competence within that technical field. So we talked about those 8 disciplines. So we have those broken down into the following. We have completions, we have data science and engineering analytics, we have drilling, we have projects, facilities, and construction, we have health, safety, environment, and sustainability, management, production and operations, and reservoir. And then we currently have 25 technical sections. And you can see here, they cover a wide range of different technical topics. We keep adding technical sections as the need arises. Just this year in January, we established a new critical minerals technical section. It hasn't been announced officially yet. It will be on the 1st of April, but our technical sections are currently growing based on the need of the members. So it's not like we're set in stone as to how many technical sections we can have. Those change based on the needs and of our members and the industry. So I'm going to give you a link here in a second where you can learn more about the technical sections and how it's easy to join those technical sections. And they operate pretty much like your geographic sections. They all have an officer committee. They decide what positions are needed, but they have a chairperson, a program chair, an administrative chair, membership chair. They have an online community webmaster. They have a young professional representative. And with sections that have bank accounts, they have a treasurer. So they operate almost like a geographic section with some minor differences. Big one being that a geographic section is located, its members are located in one area or one region. With a technical section, you could have a chairperson in Houston, your program chairperson can be from Ghana, your admin chairperson can be from India, and another officer from Europe. So it's a global section, not a geographic based section. And we award our technical sections each year at ATCE. We have 3 awards that we announce, the Presidential Award for Outstanding Technical Section, and we give 2 runners-up awards, which are our Technical Section Excellence Awards. So they get awarded just like the geographic and sections and student chapters. Now, if you want to learn more about technical sections or join a technical section, I have these 2 quick QR codes here. I can share this slideshow with the members or with Daniel, and he can share them with the members after this live event. If you ever have questions or about technical sections or anything SPE related, you can always contact me at the email there below, ghickey@spe.org. I'm always available to answer questions and provide support and help whenever I can. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I guess Daniel will handle the questions if there are any. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hickey, for that wonderful presentation. I've really picked up a lot of key insights from your presentation. I believe I'm partially a military officer by your teaching because I'm going to apply the key principles that you have shared today, especially with the OOD loop, which punctuates the need to ask whether there was an impact from the activities that you undertook, be it in SPE or in your career. Key terms in that being observed, which emphasizes knowing your environment. You can do that through surveying the membership needs and what you can do to bring more value to the members in your section. The next one is to orient, which tells us to make sense of the data you have. You can benchmark that against other high performing SP sessions, and you can, when you just oppose your section with those high performance sessions, you can pick key insights or strategies to drive progress in your section as well. The next one is to decide, which emphasizes on choosing high impact actions that really bring value to the members. Finally, there is the act, which tells us to execute with military precision. I really like this a lot because I know the military has a reputation for precision and high impact activities. So you assign clear rules and ownership for every item or every activity. It's also key to have mission clarity, and it translates to having clarity or purpose for every SP activity that we do or any activity in line of our career. And then also another key area to look at is the after action reviews, which tells us to end every project with a structured debrief, focusing on key questions like what worked, what didn't work, and what do we change or do better next time. These are very valuable insight that we can apply to key areas of our life. And then finally, which is one of my favorites, that is the intelligence approach. which punctuates moving beyond leadership, moving leadership from reactive to proactive positioning, not waiting for things to happen before we implement change, but anticipating using key tactics like the military intelligence approach. And then finally, the word to all of us is every hour invested in SPE will bring immense benefits for your career and then also your personal life. Thank you very much, Mr. Hickey. That was a wonderful presentation. So I now open the floor. If anyone has any key questions that they would like to ask, you can either raise your hand and I'll call, or you can put it in the chat box, please.
Daniel, would you like me to stop sharing my screen now?
All right, yes, sir, you can.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to leave it up or not.
All right. If there's any question, now is the time to raise your hand and you'll be called to ask. Or you can also put it inside the chat box and I'll read it out loud for us to have expert level answers to those questions. All right, whilst we wait for the audience to put in their questions, I have about two key questions that I'll be honored for you to address, Mr. Hickey. The first one is on strategic impact. So it says, from your experience in supporting multiple technical sessions globally, what distinguishes a high-performing section from an average one? And what practical steps can sections like ours in Ghana take to consistently deliver measurable impact?
So we have 25 technical sections, and some are more active than others. And the thing that makes the successful technical sections successful is their ability to see what their members want, where there's something like a gap or something missing, and being able to fill that gap with something useful. Like we have an asset management technical section. They, because of SPE budget cuts, we no longer provide technical sections a free webinar each year. So now some of the technical sections are doing their own webinars. They've taken that initiative and they said, well, here's a gap. We no longer have these webinars from SPE, so we will do our own. And so they're doing their own webinars and recording them and then uploading their webinars to SPE's Energy Stream platform. So not just their section, but all members can view those webinars after the live event. They're also doing things like establishing and doing their own workshops, creating their own workshops. So the successful ones are seeing, here's something that is missing or that there's a gap that our members aren't getting. Let's fill that gap with something that they want. And so that's what's making the successful technical sections successful.
All right, thank you very much for that expert level answer, Mr. Hickey. My key takeaway is the ability for that technical session to see what their members want, i.e. the gap in that area, and then how they can also fill that gap through implementing the key strategies that will help benefit the members in that technical session. Thank you very much. We still don't have any question yet, so I'll ask my second and final question. If you don't receive any question again, then we proceed to the next stage of the presentation. The second question is on applying military discipline to SPE volunteering. We've spoken about applying military intelligence principles such as structured decision making and strategic foresight. So the question is, how can SPE volunteers realistically, in pragmatic terms, adopt these frameworks in a volunteer environment where time and resources are limited like ours?
It is hard, and that's one of the big challenges is, everybody, most of the professionals, they're volunteering their SPE time. They have full-time jobs and their professions outside of SPE. So, where do, I wish I had a better answer. I wish I had some of my professionals, SPE technical section officers to answer this, but it's finding a balance, finding a time outside of your job, to be able to provide to find that time to provide that the amount of time and effort that's needed to focus on those tasks. So I wish I had a better answer for that, but I don't, unfortunately, because I see it, and I know that I have, and I've used examples. I have some volunteers that are, they go above and beyond, and they're always active. I don't know where they find the time to do it, but they do. But then you have some that will, volunteer for, say, an officer or committee position, and then you don't see them in the meetings. You don't see them in the being active, and they want to use that position title in their resume or their CV, but they don't want to volunteer the time. So there's and you can't force people to do it. That's the hard part, and that's where a lot of times it's up to the chapter section and technical section officers, whoever the chairperson is, the program chair, to be able to motivate some their members to volunteer for some of those activities. Because coming from an SPE staff person, it's almost sometimes feels like we're telling you to do something. We like it better when members work with members, and people in those officer positions who are their peers to their other members. It's better motivation coming from them than it is from an SPE staff person like me saying, hey, you should do this. So it comes more from that. I don't want to call it peer pressure, but it is more of a peer-to-peer thing where other people at the same level as them are motivating them to do what they want them to do.
Thank you very much for that answer, Mr. Hickey. Like you said, you can't really force volunteers to really do the work, but then I believe based on the SP experiences that have been shared today, and then people get to see and attest to the fact that SP is really impacting life, it will be enough incentive for them to really volunteer and then also have a taste of the valuable impact that SP offers. Mr. Kelvin Ariapo, your hand is up. You have the floor to ask your question, please.
Yes. Hi. So mine is a very practical question. So I'm part of the flow measurement technical committee, technical section, sorry. And then, but I'm new to the field of flow measurement. But every time I join like a webinar or an event, there's always high-level discussions going on. So my question is, and sometimes I'm lost as to what's going on, what's happening. And so my question is, how do technical sections position themselves to accommodate the young professionals joining? And also, from my standpoint as a young professional, what do I do to integrate myself better into a technical section? Thank you.
That's always a big question, because a big focus now is on getting more young professionals and even students involved in the technical sections. And in the past, the technical sections were for seasoned professionals, but now that is shifting to, we need younger people, coming out of, college, and young professionals, and even the students that are still in graduate school, because they're going to be leaving and graduating soon. And so they want them involved. So that is it's a task that the technical sections are addressing. It is something that is probably going to take time for them to, that's one thing they need to realize, is that, young people coming in may not have as much knowledge as that, and they need to kind of, look at the what they're, talking about and using in webinars now, and focus that towards the more younger, unexperienced professionals. So that is something I can bring up to the sections. I'm glad you brought that up, because I can bring things like that up to our technical section committees and kind of steer them in that direction. And your second question, being more involved, you can always contact me, and I can put you in touch with the technical section committee officers, and they can provide you information on what's available, what they're looking for. Do they have any kind of positions that they're looking to fill on the committee, if that's something that you're interested in, or if they're doing activities, how you can get involved in those. So if you just contact me, I can put you in touch with those.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderful answer, sir. I've seen a couple of questions in the chat box, but I think they are all questions that you have given comprehensive answers to, and they are ones that I believe if the audience were listening, they would have got those answers to it. So I think I'll ask just one final question since there are no further hands raised up. Okay, we have another question. Okay, so it says, with respect to the introduction of critical minerals in the technical section, could you explain the rationale for this new section, considering the definition of minerals versus petroleum? Are critical minerals defined in the view of SPE as part of petroleum? I think this is pertinent to the technical sessions bit that was mentioned.
It is. It's a new technical section, and the thing is, we have. Originally it was all petroleum based, but now SPE is recognizing other energy industries, and because we have a hydrogen technical section, we have I'm trying to think of some of the others. We have hydrogen technical section. We have asset management technical section, things that aren't really petroleum based, but they are part of the energy industry. And SPE is trying to include those other industries as well. And so with the critical minerals, not being an energy professional myself, I don't know the rationale, but it is something that obviously was of interest to enough people in SPE to meet the establishment requirements to establish the technical section. So I wish I had a better answer for you on that one, but I don't.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hickey, for that answer. Please let's all endeavor to mute our microphones, please. All right, thank you all for that. So let's move on to the next stage. Thank you very much, Mr. Hickey, for that great answer.
And if anybody has further questions, feel free to email me, and I'll get back to you with any answers. I'm always available, so my email address is ghickey@spe.org. Feel free to email me anytime.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm sure you're going to get back with military precision with responding to the emails. Thank you once again for that. Okay. So as we approach the close of today's session, a quick reminder on the immense benefits that SPE offers to its members. And as you can see, the key insights that you have gained from webinars, technical sessions like today's own, attest to the fact that SPE is really beneficial, and it's imperative for you to be a part and reap the benefit that it offers as a professional in the oil and gas as well as the energy sector. So kindly scan the QR code that you can see on your screen to join or to renew your SPE membership. And then you can also go through the processes that have been highlighted on your screen to register or to renew your SPE membership. And if you have any hiccups in doing so, you can just send a DM to any of the SPE executives or to myself via any of the WhatsApp platforms. Thank you very much. So we at another key area that is to climax today's wonderful wonderful webinar. So to formally conclude, I would like to invite the Deputy Secretary of the SPE Ghana session, Ms. Frida Ijapoma-Mensah, to deliver the closing remarks. So, Madam Frida, Deputy Secretary, over to you now.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. And so I want to say a good afternoon to each and every one of us. Thank you so much for joining today's technical session. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to say a sincere thank you for being part of today's session once again. And also, I just hope and I know that we've had a very good time, and then also the privilege to learn from a very seasoned speaker who doesn't only have a technical experience, but also has a military experience, which for me is very exceptional. I've never seen anyone like that before. And so, Mr. Gray, would want to thank you so much on behalf of SPE Ghana, on behalf of the organizers of this program. I want to say thank you so much for availing yourself and for this impactful session. For me, I learned today that in order to really impact, you'd have to identify the gaps, and in transitioning, you'd have to create milestones so that you'd be able to visualize the impact you're making. And so I've learned so much. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for engaging. And also thank you so much for being committed to SPE Ghana. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Frida Ijapoma, for that great climax. So as we all know, SPE Ghana has its biggest event for the year upcoming. That is the Ghana Biennial International Summit and Exhibition 2026, which is going to be convened under the theme Sustainable Energy for Africa, Powering Growth, Innovation and Inclusion. It is slated for the 20th to 22nd May in Accra, Ghana. The pre-event training is slated for 18th to 19th May 2026. With the a key highlight that I really enjoy and I'm looking forward to, and is the Africa Young Professionals Away Day. So kindly mark your calendars and endeavor to partake in this year's event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the SPE Ghana session, I wish to offer my immense gratitude to all of you for joining us. Special thanks once again to our SPE International Technical Sessions Manager, Mr. Gregory Hickey, for honoring us with your time and insights. Today, I'm taking away the OODA loop, and the final content I'm taking away is that every hour that I invest into SPE is going to offer immense benefits to my career and also to my personal life. We appreciate your participation, everyone. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.